I mean, they're literally
New York City topping the list of cities with the worst air quality in the world for a bit. You're looking live right now. That is Philadelphia, that city, and Washington, D.C. dealing with it as we come on the air this morning.
We have to think of our neighbors to the north in Canada. They're dealing with this as well. Yes, we have to put masks on here, but there, more than 11,000 people have been evacuated from parts of northern Quebec. Another 4,000 will be evacuated soon. Now take a look at this map, showing how widespread the smoke is.
warnings after smoke from Canadian wildfire blankets large areas of the United States. There was even that one TikTok where it looked like it was a helicopter pouring fire onto the forest. Did you guys see that one? Now, while Canada's fighting these fires, the smoke has already reached as far as Norway. Here's a picture of New York. But really, the whole East Coast has been blanketed with this hazardous smog from the Canadian wildfires. In fact, the air quality this past week gives the US a glimpse of the world's air pollution. It's scary what wildfire smoke does to the human body. In short term, being exposed to such particles can irritate your eyes, your throat, your nose, your lungs, and it can even cause you to cough, sneeze, or even feel short of breath. It can also cause even more serious effects like triggering asthma attacks. Long-term exposure is especially dangerous, and it's been shown to impair children's lung development, and it can increase your risk of developing lung cancer or heart disease. For people with chronic heart or lung issues, long-term exposure can increase risk of death. And then, of course, there's the news about the explosion collapsing the dam in the Ukraine, drowning all of those animals in that one zoo. They're finding evidence that it was planned. Now, maybe it's just me, but I don't know. Maybe whoever decided to put a zoo at the foot of a major dam should never make decisions ever again. And on the wildfires, it seems like beyond coincidence that the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration issues red flag warnings, then a fire seems to start immediately afterwards. Yeah. Someone could be setting those fires as a terrorism act, just a guess. It's kind of hard not to see. Now, I can't help but connect all the dots here. I mean, on the one end, you got all these major disasters, natural and man-made. On the other hand, you got news like this. Emergency satellite phones issued to senators fuel conspiracy claims, and Illinois National Guard leads multi-agency statewide exercise simulating major disaster. I can't make this stuff up, guys. I mean, what are we supposed to think, right? Every time Biden or Obama or Trump is under the heat, something breaks out to take over the headlines. It's almost like they want to cover something up. Now, at this point, I'm just hoping that somebody's going to figure out what Joe's handlers are up to next. Now, it would be great if all the American citizens working for these sleazy companies or, maybe some military personnel working these training exercises could give us folks a heads up, right? I mean, our own citizens are ultimately screwing themselves. If you got any firsthand, maybe even secondhand information, you guys know the comment section is always wide open. But let's just work together here for the sake of the financial freedom fam, all right? Now, speaking of, let me do my part. Let's get right into the stories today. And by the way, if you own a home, make sure your home is protected. Get your free home warranty quote. There's a link in the description down below this video. So first, have a look at these satellite images. Not just the US is affected by smoke from the Canada wildfires. It's even reached as far out as Norway. Around 75 million people are under air quality alerts, and over the last few days, plumes of smoke have stretched from Canada across Greenland, Iceland, and even made their way as far as Norway. Over the coming days, the plume is expected to spread all across different parts of Europe. Really, this could not have gone wider if it was planned. As the expert said, quote, "Smoke from wildfires such as those in Canada is injected at high altitudes, thus staying in the atmosphere longer and able to travel over far distances," end quote. Now, the whole US East Coast has just been blanketed in hazardous smog from the Canadian wildfires. I even heard schools across the East Coast canceling outdoor activities, commercial airline traffic slowing down, and millions of Americans being urged to stay indoors. Now, the U.S. National Weather Service issued an air quality alert, or actually multiple alerts, for virtually the entire Atlantic seaboard. Health departments from Vermont to South Carolina and as far west as Ohio and Kansas warned residents that spending time outdoors could cause respiratory problems due to high levels of particulates in the atmosphere. AccuWeather marked this the worst outbreak of wildfire smoke to blanket the Northeast U.S. in more than 20 years. People couldn't even see the New York City skyline anymore. New York Governor Kathy Hochul called the situation an emergency crisis. She said that the air pollution index for parts of her state were 8 times above normal. That's pretty bad, even for New York. And it's just painful and sad how some Americans just can't afford to stop working. Landscaping companies are curtailing work hours and they're wearing face masks that they had previously donned when the pollen was heavy. Now, according to one owner, quote, "We don't have the luxury to stop working. We want to keep our exposure to smoke to a minimum, but what can you really do about it?" End quote. A Home Depot in Manhattan sold out of air purifiers and masks as residents scrambled to protect themselves. New York roadrunners canceled events intended to mark Global Running Day. People are now wearing face masks like it was the worst days during the C-19 pandemic. Bad air can be dangerous, especially if you're breathing it over a lifetime. Short-term effects include coughing, congestion, inflammation, but longer-term exposure could lead to liver and brain and even increase the risk of blood clots that can cause heart attacks. Added risk with smoke from the wildfires is that the particulate matter that they produce, known as PM, they could mix with emissions from cars, factories, and stoves in urban areas. According to this quote, PM in smoke haze is more toxic than the usual urban PM, end quote. The effects of outdoor and household air pollution are associated with about 6.7 million annual deaths worldwide, mostly in low and middle income countries. So the best advice right now, be aware of the risks to your health and definitely check for updates and guidance from local health authorities about how to best protect the health of your family and your loved ones. If local officials say it's best to stay indoors, make sure to keep doors and windows closed to help keep that pollution from getting inside your house. Home air purifiers also help. And if you have to go outside, wearing one of those N95 masks, that should be a good option to protect yourself. In other news, there's the collapsed dam in the Ukraine that drowned all those poor animals. Evidence has been growing that there was an explosion at the Kakhovka Dam in southern Ukraine around the time that it collapsed. Ukraine's security service said that it had intercepted a telephone call proving a Russian sabotage group blew up the Kakhovian hydroelectric station and dam early on Tuesday in Kherson region. Norway's research foundation Norsar said that data collected from the regional seismic stations showed clear signals of an explosion. It was just mass flooding, forcing thousands of residents to flee the wreaking environmental havoc. The recording that they got said something along the lines of, the Ukrainians, didn't strike it. That was our sabotage group. They wanted to scare people with that dam. It didn't go according to plan, and they did more than what they had planned for, end quote. Now, speaking of planned, doesn't it seem too coincidental that disasters like these are happening on a daily basis, while at the same time you're hearing news of US senators receiving satellite phones for emergencies? Now, some tweets I got about this, quote, "Nothing to see here, just in. 50 US senators have been issued satellite phones for emergency communication. CBS." Here's another one. Many are worried a cyber attack prior to the 2024 election would be used to justify changes in voting procedures that will benefit Joe Biden. Today, we learned that US senators are being issued special satellite phones for this exact scenario. Not good. And another, breaking. 50 US senators have been issued satellite phones for emergency communication. What are they hiding? Now, that last one has 735,000 views and almost 8,000 likes the last I checked. You know what else I found? This news headline saying, quote, "National Guard leads multi-agency statewide exercise simulating major disaster." A disaster? You mean like the smoke haze covering the East Coast right now? Kind of makes you think, huh? Let's take a look here. Members of the Illinois National Guard are working with multiple agencies in an exercise simulating a major disaster that knocks out regular communication systems. I mean, senators getting satellite phones while the National Guard is simulating a major disaster that takes out communication? You gotta be kidding me, right? Now, you may have heard about the massive drill happening called the Big Air Defender event. It involves over 200 aircraft from our country and other NATO countries. It's one of the biggest drills ever, and there's a lot of strategic bomber movement happening in Europe and in the USA. People are really speculating about what's really going on with all this military activity. Now, let's talk about the bigger picture. Some people in the community feel that we're edging closer and closer to a doomsday scenario, and our leaders, they're not doing enough to calm down the situation. They mentioned the solar grand minimum. Did you guys hear about this? A period of reduced solar activity that can lead to extreme weather conditions. We already experienced a taste of it with a mini ice age last December. Millions were left without power, temperatures were plummeting to below freezing. There's a lot of debate and speculation out there right now, and it can be a little bit overwhelming. But you guys know know me. I like to keep an open mind here in our financial freedom fam. But share your thoughts in the comment section down below because I'm genuinely interested in just hearing different perspectives on this. I spent a lot of time researching, but sometimes there's just too much information to sort through. Now, of course, it is important to stay safe and be prepared. Now, while we can't say for sure, it's always a good idea to be prepared for emergencies. In fact, I highly recommend that you guys get the word out to your friends and your loved ones. Just go ahead and hit the share button right there. So anyway, that is it for the emergency update and daily preparedness news. Is this a climate crisis or a conspiracy? The Canadian wildfires causing all kind of messes here in the United States, a dam explosion, and the US government pulling all sorts of shady moves. You gotta watch out, guys. I hope we can stick together on this one. More on the next one. By the way, you should see 2 videos above my head. Go ahead and click on those videos right now and check those out. I just want to thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you guys always lighting up the like button. It really helps to get this information out across those YouTube algorithms to people who need to hear it. Anyway, I'm gonna see you guys on the next one. Until then, take care.